Hi, this is Alan Shay with Our Society, and we're here at Northwest Pasadena at a Northwest Pasadena special meeting here regarding this beautiful new building that the Northwest Commission has been actively involved with bringing to this community called Heritage Square. So what you're going to see today is a meeting involving Bill Wong. He is the manager over the housing department in Pasadena. And we're going to have a chance to really kind of walk through and pose some questions to Mr. Wong as to how the progress is with this project and how the availability of Northwest residents residing in this property will ultimately pan out. So this is Alan Shay, so stay with us as we go through today's show, focusing in on Heritage Square here in Northwest Pasadena. Mr. Wong here, and he's going to come on over here and talk from this angle.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. The Heritage Square Senior Apartments, it has a total of 70 units. 69 are for very low income seniors, one is an on-site manager's unit. Some of us met the manager here, Donna. The maximum income is gross income, $30,400 for a one-person household. Overall, took 14 years to finish, which is really a shame. Really a shame. If you think of how many people could have been housed here, for instance, Ralph Poole, he could have qualified to live here. He died. He helped to get this thing going. He passed away before the thing opened. Right? So there's a huge need for senior housing here. For every unit that we had, we got 22 applications, over 1,500 applications for this particular project. There's a priority here for people who live and work or retire from a job in Pasadena, and those who live in Pasadena. All of the 69 residents who will live here, and they haven't all been selected yet, they will all be Pasadena residents, 100%. And so far there's only about a dozen people that have moved in. They just started moving in on Monday. So more are going to be moving in over the next month, and pretty soon we'll have it fully leased up. Other questions?
Out of the 69 folks that are here, what's the ethnic breakdown?
We don't have it completely. I've seen the first 30, and it's about, if I counted it right, about 7 or 8, well, I think it's 8 Hispanic, about 7 or 8 Asian, about 4, I think, Armenian, and the rest other, which we don't know exactly who they are. Most likely African American, and maybe some Caucasian. Yeah. So, but we will see. It's going to be leased up. It's going to be, and at that point, everybody will be able to see who is here and who got leased in.
So are you saying that all the information will be disclosed as to what percentage who
Yes.
they are, the makeup,
Yep.
and the process in which the selection was made?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Why is it taking, I guess, when do you project the 69, the rest of the 69 that have been selected, and kind of why is that taking?
Because there's a careful process, because it's a multi-step process to get people in. Firstly, people had to submit a pre-application. Yeah, many months ago, but that was before the building was done. The building just got its certificate of occupancy about 2 weeks ago. So we couldn't have moved people in.
Whoa, okay, I was just there asking about the selection, because it sounds like the selection still hasn't been.
It's not
determined.
finalized.
Okay.
It's not finalized. There's primarily a 3-step process. So after the folks have been put into the priority categories and drawn from the priority pool categories, the first priority pool are those who live and work and or retired from a Pasadena job. That was first priority. Second priority are those who just live in Pasadena. Of course, everybody has to be income eligible. Everybody has to be age eligible. It's 55 and up. And so, and then there were several other pools. There were several other categories. The biggest category is folks who didn't fall into any of the priorities, so just the general folks who applied. All the residents are coming from those first two priority categories. So we know every single one will be passing results. So once they get pulled, then everybody was given a lottery number, a computerized, randomized lottery number, and then they were pulled out. And then folks have to submit a full application to the property management company. The property management company does their best to make sure they're eligible income, they're really in the right priority. Because you have people who say, yeah, I live and I retired from work in Pasadena, but they can't demonstrate any of that. And so then they're moved down to a lower pool. So the property management company has to screen them first. After the property management company screens them, they have to send those applications to the developer. And the developer has to make sure that all the financial requirements that the funders have are met, to make sure that all gets met. And then once they approve them, then they send the applications to my office, and we have to approve them for Section 8, because everybody who's here has to be in Section 8. So it's a three-step process. But the first 30 have been processed, and the first about 10 or a dozen or so have already moved in this week.
Today, what is going on here is the grand opening for the Heritage Square Senior Apartments. This is 70 units of very low-income housing for seniors here in Pasadena.
The importance of this project is a demonstration of how the community can work with the city and a whole host of other agencies to make affordable housing a reality in our community.
We had over 1,500 applications, so 22 applications for every available unit. And so the demand is very, very high for affordable housing, particularly for senior housing.
When you have a high-cost area like Pasadena, what happens is people who get old, retire, are forced to move out, and they can't stay in their city of origin. And so it's really important to have affordable housing for seniors and for families, because it allows people to stay in a community. It's really an anti-displacement technique, but it's also just a basic human need to have very nice housing that provides opportunities and safety and health.
Seniors are usually on a fixed income. You know, we're retirement age. And when you're living on a fixed monthly income and the rents are sky high, you can't afford it. So for seniors to have affordable housing is really almost as vital to us as breathing, because we have to have some place that are safe. We're older now. We can't do the things we did when we were younger. And to have safe, clean, affordable housing, I think is every dream for someone going up in age and becoming a senior.
And once in a while, you realize a victory like this development here today. And so for those that have been associated with it, Bill and his staff, Bridge Housing, which deserves a tremendous amount of credit, the model effort that they made in terms of local hiring, and for the 70 residents that will be here now and the hundreds that will be occupy this place over the next 50 or 60 years. I congratulate you all, and I bring greetings from the City of Pasadena and the City Council.
What we saw here today was a partnership. This is what I want people in the City of Pasadena and throughout the United States to know. When you work together, things like this happen. It didn't happen overnight. As we heard, it took 14 years, but it happened.
I'm ecstatic that I can see people that I actually know from the community who now have a wonderful place to live. Bridge Housing has produced one of the highest quality developments in the city of Pasadena, and so I couldn't be more pleased. I could not be more pleased with the way the mayor, former mayor, current mayor, and my colleagues have stepped up and said this is of value and we've got to do what's necessary to build this project.
Projects like this help the local economy because not only does it provide the housing, but it also provides work and employment for individuals who live in Pasadena and businesses that are here. About $7 million ended up back in the Pasadena economy because of this project.
I don't mean to get emotional, but some of us seniors were homeless that came here. And I might not look like homeless today, but I was homeless. And this means so much for what went on behind the scenes to provide a brand new building.
So it's a senior housing project, has all kinds of amenities for the seniors, handicap accessibility, community facilities so that people don't isolate themselves in their rooms, community programs here. There's a on-site library with a computer lab. There is a exercise room and an exercise deck or a sun deck. There are community gardens here.
And so I like to thank those who committed their many years of their life to this area and to this city, but also recognize the fact that one of the guiding principles that came out of that planning conversation back in the 80s was recognizing whatever happens, that it had to reflect and include the people who were part of this community.
I love this city. And when you see what goes on in the city of Pasadena and they make you a part of it, it makes you proud.
To have a place of my own is nothing short of a miracle.
So thrilled that Stephanie's given me an opportunity to sit down with her because this is a very emotional interview. The reason why it's emotional is because this is the largest senior citizen housing facility that has been built in probably the last 20 years, if not the only one. Wow. So, and as a commissioner here in Pasadena, I recall the early challenges to get the project on the drawing board and to bring it to reality. And so now I'm here with one of the residents who will share with you viewers the end result of this project, some of the history. She can enlighten you with her perspective of a ribbon cutting ceremony we had here recently, and really what her personal opinion is as to Pasadena as a city offering these type of facilities to their residents. So I'm gonna get with Stephanie and let her just go ahead and share with the viewers, and whatever you feel you want to share with us, that'll be great, because I think a lot of the viewers don't know how the recipients feel, and you're one of the recipients of this type of effort that went into getting a project like this done. So why don't you share with them your beginning process, how you became aware of it, how much you stayed active with the development so that you can be one of the recipients that was awarded one of the units here.
You know what, this was a miracle and a blessing for me. What happened was I'm training through the Sir Job program, which is senior training, 55 and up, and they sent me to the Housing Authority. And that's how I found out about this apartment building, and when it was finished and that they were accepting applicants. I didn't know anything about the history until surrounded it, and it gave me, I was telling a friend of mine I was talking to earlier, that I didn't have for the grand opening because I didn't know the history of this piece of land, the gentleman that owned the land, what it meant to the residents of Pasadena, especially the African American residents. This land is precious, and I was wondering why they had named it Heritage Square. Well, now I know, and it's very appropriate.
So why don't you share with the residents so they can follow along with you on this historic journey, some of the information you've learned, especially where the name Heritage Square originated?
Well, because it's a square piece of property that belonged to an African American gentleman who was the first cameraman in media in Hollywood, way back in, I think, the early 50s or 40s. It might have been even as far back as the 30s, I'm not sure. But this was his land, and this was his dream as he got to be older, from what I understand, that he wanted a place for seniors to be safe and to have clean, safe, affordable housing. Because as we all know, if you know anything about Pasadena, the price here, the home prices and the apartment prices are really getting out of hand, especially for seniors on a fixed income. How can you afford to live in a beautiful building like this when the rents are astronomical? And everybody knows, it's common knowledge, that Pasadena is one of the most expensive cities to live in. So an African American owning this land, having a vision for this land. I heard there was a lot of controversy because certain people wanted to do certain things, and the community wanted to be involved in the development of this land. And like I said, I only heard all of this at the grand opening, but I was listening because it affected me, because this is where I live now. This is the place I've been blessed to have moved in. Found out it was 5,000 applicants for 70 apartments. That ought to tell any city leader, any government leader, any council leader, you have 5,000 elderly people applying for 70 apartments? That says something just right there in the numbers. And for me to get one of the 70 apartments is nothing short of a miracle.
Wow. So why don't you share with the viewers really when you heard the dignitaries that were there and the length of it. And again, at the closing, was everybody as well received about the presentation and the information as you were, or do you think a lot of people just accepted it as a PR function for the city of Pasadena?
With some of the information that was given at the grand opening, I don't know how anyone could walk away and just say that it was just a PR promotion for Pasadena. The mayor was there. It was a council member from Sacramento that was here that has been involved in the project since the 80s. It was council members that were here. It was people that were involved in this from the beginning, who went through the controversies, who saw it tabled. I think they said 3 times. This project was tabled and it was finished, but they persevered. They gave great commendation to the housing authority in the city of Pasadena, because Bill Wong, Jim Wong, and then the other staff at the housing authority, they grabbed the ball and they said, we're going to get this done. So it was a lot of people in high places that were involved in seeing this through to the end, that they were committed, their hearts were committed. A reverend prayed at the beginning of the opening ceremonies, and it was about faith. Faith for the monies to come, faith for people to get involved with the finances, faith for people to stick with it and not throw their hands up because it was so much controversy involved, which I am not privy to all the controversy involved, but it was about people having faith, people wanting to do this and give seniors on low income and fixed incomes a safe, new, clean place to live in the city of Pasadena. And I think what Pasadena wanted to do, if there's any PR or promotion, would be to show the rest of the country, look at what we've done. It can be done. Get involved. We need participants. We need funding. We need to provide for the elderly and the seniors who provided for us when we were younger. It's about giving back.
Right. And as a resident here in the Heritage Square facility, what would you share with the viewers as far as the balance, the camaraderie, the community, as far as all 70 of the residents that are here?
We're all getting to know one another. The ethnicity here is beautiful. I told the director of the housing authority how well done it was with the different cultures, the different ethnicities. We're all getting to know one another. We've only been here like 3.5 months. And It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, perfect mixture. I think they did extremely well, is putting different cultures and backgrounds together. We're going to learn from one another. A lot of the people that live here don't speak English, but we know how to communicate with each other of a wave and a nod and good morning on the elevator when we're leaving for work or when we're coming in from the market. The facility is beautiful. It has a library and the fitness room for the seniors to be able to exercise, because moving is keeping your body in good health when you're older. It has the courtyards where you can just sit and enjoy the weather. You're in a safe place, and when you are a senior citizen, the main thing is security and safety in your elderly golden years. And we have that here at Heritage Square. They provided it for us. And I think this is going to be a beautiful community as we get to know one another better, and as we live here longer, and the garden that's here that we can all participate in, planting whatever you want, and then we will get to share with one another, well, what is this and why did you plant that? And we'll be able to communicate. And I'm sure a lot of the people here that don't speak English, before it's over, will be speaking English, and maybe a few of us will be speaking a little Chinese or Japanese or Armenian. Everybody's kind to one another. And I think the vision that Mr. Smith, isn't it Mr. Smith?
You're talking about
the owner of this property that had been the owner.
Right, the original owner
of the property.
Right.
I think that for true. It's not sure miracle.
Right. So some of the history, and I share with the viewers, so you can hopefully see if this was brought up at the ribbon cutting. But this land was Mr. Scott's, and Mr. Scott was a community activist. He was a business owner, very, very, very active man. In fact, he had a lot of influence when I was young, because we lived not too far from here growing up. And his pride and objective was to always be a part of the community. And he really wanted to plant the seed. And the home that he lived in is still right next door. So they're looking to make that a part of the permanent fixture once the entire Heritage Square development is completed. It is amazing to see his vision come to light, as Stephanie has articulated. And for those of you who are watching the show today, our hope in presenting this to you would be about community. For those of you who are not active, I would encourage you to get active. Get active with your community. Know what's going on. Find out who your city council member is. Find out whether there are commissions in your neighborhood that you could become aware of, to see exactly how important they are, if not to you as an individual, certainly to your children, your family, or to the community. And again, when I grew up here in this area, the Northwest area, in fact, right down the street on Fair Oaks and Mountain, actually was a full shopping center. And yes, so when I was a kid, and so that was our hub to go and get Bill's Chicken. In fact, that was, I don't know if you've ever heard of Bill's Chicken, but it was an African-American restaurant that originally started there. And so as kids, we would always go over there to get our food in the grocery stores. And then there was the pantry store down where Vaughn's is. And it used to be, right. So, we had quite a bit of retail establishments in our neighborhood. We had gas stations. And as you can see, there's no gas stations here now. You only have one retail store, which is the Vaughn's, which is getting ready to change. So you have all these things that have transpired over the last 30, 40, 50 years. But without being an active person, as you have attested to, Stephanie, people will lose sight of what the future could offer. And because Mr. Scott did not lose sight,
It happened.
it happened.
Yes.
And that's why I was so moved when I met you, and you shared with me that you were present at the ribbon cutting and that you were moved by it. I felt that it was very important for viewers to understand how a recipient can be moved by someone else's giving.
And their vision. Because one of the main things that was discussed is the homelessness of senior citizens in Pasadena. And one of the things that they wanted to address was for people to get involved, for communities, for government to get involved because of the homelessness and seniors not having affordable housing. And like you said, for Mr. Smith and his vision, he bought real estate. He was a real estate developer. And if we don't care about one another, who's going to care about us? We have to get involved. We have to do something. I was homeless. It is a horrible thing to be homeless as a senior. And to know that I can do something, whether it's tell somebody, put the word out, get involved, volunteer at a homeless shelter, anything that I can do. If you give $1, you think, well, what is $1 going to do? But if 1 million people give $1, you got $1 million. We got to do something to help one another, and especially to combat the housing situation that's going on with not just seniors, but with everybody. But let's start with taking care of our elderly, because they took care of us.
Well, I certainly thank you for this interview, and hopefully the viewers that are watching the show today really can see the need, the purpose, and also will get involved now that you've heard this story. This show, Our Society, try to make the viewers inclusive of what goes on in the community that they may not otherwise be aware of or have a sense of what goes on. And that's what this show is all about, is to make sure you're informed. So this is Alan Shay signing off.